Paris in the early 19th century was a city of smoke, narrow streets and long shadows that lingered beneath the glow of gas lamps. Crime did not hide there. It moved openly through markets and taverns, whispered in crowded alleys, and disappeared before dawn, leaving little more than rumor behind. The police pursued it, the courts condemned it, and the prisons filled with men who had tried their luck against the law. Yet the city never seemed quieter. Because those who attempted to control crime did not truly understand it. One man did. His name was Eugène François Vidocq. Born in 1775, Vidocq reached adulthood already familiar with duels, forged papers, and accusations he preferred not to face. He was not a criminal mastermind, nor a romantic outlaw. He survived by adapting, changing identities as easily as other men changed coats, studying the habits of those who guarded him, and memorizing the weaknesses of the walls that confined him. When arrested, he observed. When imprisoned, he waited. And when opportunity appeared, he escaped. More than once. In the process, he learned how criminals speak, how they signal one another without words, how patience can be more powerful than force. He learned fear, calculation, and the quiet hierarchies that rule the underworld. France itself was unsettled. Revolution had shaken the old order. Napoleon was rising, and Paris was crowded with veterans, drifters, and men who relied on cunning rather than stability to survive. Vidocq survived the same way, until survival demanded a different choice. Facing the prospect of long imprisonment, he made an offer to the authorities. If they would shorten his sentence, if they would allow him a path back into the streets, he would give them something they did not possess. He would give them knowledge, not out of virtue, but from calculation. Because he understood that the same streets that had once sheltered him could now become his greatest advantage. He returned to the streets not as prey but as an observer, moving carefully between taverns and safe houses, listening more than speaking. He mapped the underworld from within. He knew which alley carried messages, which tavern concealed stolen goods, which familiar face could not be trusted when money was involved. The police, desperate for results, began to rely on him, first cautiously, then increasingly. In 1811, Vidocq proposed something that seemed almost unthinkable. A small unit of men who understood deception because they had once lived by it. Former criminals, working in plain clothes, moving quietly through the city, blending into crowds rather than marching through them. This unit would become known as the Sûreté. Under Vidocq's direction, it grew into one of the earliest organized detective forces in Europe, not merely reacting to crime but studying it, tracing patterns, remembering faces, and preserving records that others might have dismissed. Gradually, order began to take shape. Success brought admiration, but it also brought suspicion. Some accused him of manipulating evidence, of remaining too close to his former allies, of bending rules that were meant to remain firm. Perhaps the line between justice and survival had never been entirely clear. In 1827, amid controversy and mounting criticism, Vidocq resigned from the Sûreté. Yet he did not retreat from public life. Instead, he founded a private investigative bureau, offering services that would later resemble modern detective work. He wrote memoirs, part confession, part legend, ensuring that his own version of events would travel further than any official report. Writers would later draw inspiration from his life, but history preserves something more significant than legend. Vidocq had lived outside the law, and in the end, he helped rewrite it. The man once hunted by the system became one of the men who shaped it, proving that knowledge gained in darkness could, under certain circumstances, be turned toward order. Modern policing would evolve far beyond his time, refining methods and expanding authority. Yet it would never again entirely ignore the value of understanding crime from within. Eugène François Vidocq died in 1857, not in a cell, not in exile, but as a man who had transformed the very force that once pursued him.